Hey everyone, welcome back to the High Peaks Weekly Report. I'm Jonathan Zaharek, your favorite hiker. Today's episode is gonna be really fun, so I sure hope you stay all the way to the very end. The sun is coming out, the frogs are chirping, and the birds are croaking, and so are the gnats and the black flies. Today's weather is 77 degrees and sunny, and that's why I'm working inside today. I don't really like the heat. But let's get right into it. We have a lot of things to cover today, and I'm really excited to bring you guys some of this information. First off, this week, some things that I went up and hiked. I went up Mount Van Hoevenberg, I went up Baxter, I went up Big Crow, and I also did the Cold River Loop with Bethany Gerritsen as an FKT. That was really great, Bethany, if you're watching this. Thanks again for that. I had a blast. It was a 30-mile loop that circumnavigates the Seward Range, and we did it in just about 6 hours and 11 minutes. I also found this dead bear. Now, I'm not gonna disclose the location necessarily of where this bear was, but just know it was not in a place that bears normally would be found. I sent this picture over to Jimmy Stickles, Region 5 Wildlife. He was pretty shocked. And I know he forwarded it to a couple of the biologists and some of the other rangers, and they were pretty shocked too. It's not a gigantic bear, it's probably a junior, maybe 3 feet in length, maybe 80 pounds. But that was definitely the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I've never seen a bear. Remember guys, when you come here to hike, to be a steward of where you go, watch where you step, educating yourself and others. There's still a decent amount of snow up high, probably right about 4,500 feet. There's still a lot of really hard-packed ice and snow on the trail, and with the warming temperatures, that snow is gonna really start getting super soft. So just take caution, guys, please, of where you go. We obviously had a Marcy rescue the other week. There's a lot of ways that we can prevent rescues. Onto some key points. This is a big one, guys. I'm gonna be talking about this in every weekly report, posting it on my Instagram. I'm gonna be plugging this, okay? But my Winter 46 gallery show by the Lake Placid Center for the Arts, opening June 10th all the way through July 25th. But you guys should plan on coming to the opener if you can make it. It's only gonna be 2 hours long. There's gonna be food, there's gonna be drinks, it's gonna be a fun party. I'm gonna be there. I would love to meet you guys. And again, that's at the LPCA, and what this is an art gallery exhibit dedicated to the Winter 46 and just the high peaks in general. I'm gonna have my Winter 46 images of every single high peak captured in detail, plastered on the walls, metal prints, as well as 46 other artists presenting their individual rendition of a high peak. It's gonna be a high peaks extravaganza, and I would definitely ask you guys to put that on your calendar, and while you make your trip up to Lake Placid here, to go check that out. Again, June 10th through July 25th. So it's gonna go on for a while. I don't think you'll have an excuse to not go. On to the next point. I have an opportunity for you guys to come hiking with me. I would love to meet some of you guys, especially if you're in the photography. I will be going up to the summit of Skylight for sunrise on June 10th, the same day as my gallery opening. Hopefully that doesn't come to bite me back in the butt. But for the partial solar eclipse, I'm gonna go up there to photograph it, and Skylight's an absolutely amazing peak to be on for sunrise. Again, that is June 10th. If you would like to be part of that, find me on Instagram, link in the description, and DM me if you would like to join. I'm gonna put a public announcement about that on my Instagram as well for people who would like to join. Obviously, I can only have up to like 14 people go on that, but I would love to get a big group of people who want to go watch that sunrise and photograph the eclipse. On to one of the key points. Keene has recently announced their halting of shuttle services. Yeah. It feels like every single week now, the actions of Keene are in the news for some reason. I haven't figured out yet if they're trying to make things better or worse for the hiking community. I'm sure they have good intentions behind a lot of the things that they're choosing to do, but at the end of the day, let's be honest, are they the best decisions? Obviously, I'm not a resident of Keene, so I can't necessarily have a voice for that, but I can at least just speak on the topic. But in recent news, a network of shuttles to help manage Keene Valley hiker traffic will not be rolling for at least one more year due to the state's fears that the buses themselves could be a safety hazard. Isn't the whole point of transporting people back and forth between trailheads keeping less cars and hiker traffic on the roads? It's almost like a double negative of an attempt. Maybe if you didn't block off all the pull-offs, you would actually have a place to turn around. At Essex County's weekly Board of Supervisors meeting on Monday, Supervisor Sean Gilliland said the state is kiboshing the shuttles because while the 4 buses are at the ready, a plan for safety, picking up and dropping off hikers and turning around on a busy State Route 73 is not. Okay, don't turn around on Route 73. When they were building a new bridge at the Garden, they did a gorgeous loop around. I feel like more problems are going to arise than be solved. So take that with what you will. Again, we'll see how the summer plays out through all these things. Last week, I gave away a liquid IV bundle and I had 124 of you submit an entry. So thank you very much. That was a really great turnout. But congratulations to David L for winning the liquid IV bundle. I'll be sending that to you today in the mail. On to the key topic, the steepest trail in the park. Now, many people throughout the years have put out their own report of what they've gathered information-wise. So what I did is I went on CalTopo and I took the elevation gain and distance and topographically, mathematically or whatever, calculated for degree and grade sloping. Now, previous reports have done only mile sections. What I decided to do was take specific singular sections of trails. They might be 1/10 of a mile, they might be a half a mile, they might be a full mile, they might be more. Obviously, you can go and climb something near freaking vertical for like 20 feet, but we're talking about at least a decently length part of a trail that you're gonna be going up for like minimum like 15 or 20 minutes. So any single part of a trail, that would be considered the steepest part. Here we go, starting off at number 10. You might be shocked to see this as number 10, but we have the Boundary Peak from Lake Colden. I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying they thought this was so much steeper. It goes up really high, don't get me wrong, it does. It climbs like 2,500 feet in like 2.1 miles. But when you actually crunch the numbers and all this other stuff, it's just a lot of elevation gain over a long period of time. So it is steep, but it's not the steepest. On to number 9, we have the Whiteface via Connery Pond. This is something I have yet to explore myself, but it climbs 1,700 feet in only a mile. That's really steep. Up next, we have the elevator shaft. I did this last month and yeah, it's really steep. It climbs 1,400 feet in 0.8. It goes right up between Colvin and Blake, coming down from the Warden Camp in between Upper and Lower Ausable Lake. So to get back there, you're kind of really putting yourself in a weird place. But anyways, number 7 is Nipple Top via Elk Pass. This climbs 1,100 feet in just 6/10 of a mile. I've done that 10 or 11 times, and yeah, I'll tell you, I never ever want to go back down it. In the winter maybe, but I would never like going back down that. I always like to descend the ridge. And we have 2 for in 6th place. Tied, we have Dix via Round Pond, coming in at 1,500 feet in 3/4 of a mile, while tying with the Colden South Side approach from Lake Colden. This is the first 2 times vertical gainer, 1,200 feet in 6/10 of a mile. Again, as you can clearly see, these trails aren't the full trail section, it's just their steepest points. Coming in at 5th place, again, a tie, we have the infamous Allen Mountain, just barely beating out the previous 2 at 1,050 feet, over half a mile. Those 50 feet sure do count. And again, tied for 5th is the backside of Haystack from Panther Gorge. Exactly the same, 1,050 feet in half a mile. Again, yeah, obviously it could be 3 or 4 feet different or whatever, but that's just what I gathered. Coming in at number 4, many of you know them, the Saddleback Cliffs. These guys climb 220 feet in just 1/10 of a mile as you descend that col between basin and you start ramping up on the trail. Eventually it's gonna get steeper and steeper and steeper until you reach the base of the cliffs. 220 feet in 1/10 of a mile is very steep. Now on to the top 3 finishers, guys. We actually have a tie again for 3rd place. Coming in 3rd place is the Lillian Brook Trail, right there in between Poe and Huff Peak. Maybe people will say Huff and Puff as well, but it depends on how you look at English. But that trail section that splits off right there climbs 530 feet in just under 1/4 of a mile. Again, tied for 3rd place, probably one of the steepest trails most of you will climb is Seymour. The second half to Seymour climbs 1,030 feet in just 0.45. If you ask me, going up the Seymour would be harder than Lillian Brook because it's longer. It's like the same incline as Lillian Brook, but it's twice as long. Coming in at number 2, I thought this was actually the steepest in the park. Turns out it's not. For my calculations, it's only the second steepest, but it's still mad steep. Coming in at number 2 is the Gothix cable route, climbing 500 feet in just 0.2 of a mile. That sounds near vertical, but it's actually only a 25.3-degree angle. You're still on your hands though for a lot of it. There's a reason why they put the cables in there. And coming in at first place, I was shocked to find this out, but hey, it makes sense. I haven't done it in years. I think I need to go back and do it again. Coming in at number 1, Macomb slide. From the base of the slide all the way up to the summit, 900 feet in 0.35. That's just crazy. That's really, really steep. It's 26-degree angle. So there you have it. Steepest trails in the park. Let me know your thoughts below. All right, on to Q&A. I'm gonna try to get this done as quickly as possible. So here we go. First question comes from Liquid IV. Do you add this directly to your bladder? After filtering, of course. Doesn't it mess up the bladder or make it more of a pain to clean if you have anything but plain water in it? Actually, what I've found out is no. Liquid IV does not linger any taste or anything inside of my water bladder. In fact, any single thing that I put it in, once I drink it, I just rinse it out. It's all done. Just like any other electrolyte powder or anything else, it doesn't change the color, it doesn't change the taste on the rubber, and it's a very clean way of feeding yourself the hydration properties that you need. Melissa asks, Dick's range versus lower grade range. Which range is physically more challenging? Dick's range, 100%. There's no water up on the ridge for a much longer period of time, more elevation gain, more distance. It's just, I would probably say it's at least 25% harder from any direction. But now that Elk Lake is open, it's still harder. Someone asked, have I ever been to Upper Ausable Lake? I did last month. I went and checked out everything there in between Sawteeth and Blake back there and checked out the Warden Camp and all that stuff. It's so gorgeous back there, so beautiful. Someone else asked, what are the differences between the High Peaks Adirondack trail maps that the club produces and the National Geographic trail maps? And what are your recommendations? So this is just my guess. I could be wrong, but I hate the National Geographic maps because I think it's because they legally can't put a trail on the map that the state doesn't recognize as an official marked trail. There's a lot of things like the Sewards and Allen and all these trails on the National Geographic High Peaks maps that just aren't there. I don't like them at all. I say get the one that was produced and made by people who live in the Adirondacks, because those ones are gonna be the most accurate and show you things that Nat Geo doesn't have a clue about. So if I were you, I always have it in my description below, my recommended trail map. Dave asks, does the DEC or any other agency officially recognize 46ers? How should a High Peaks hiker keep track of their progress for recognition? So pretty simple, straightforward. The only people that recognize 46ers are the 46ers. And simply, all you have to do, just keep tabs of the dates of when you do it for your journey. Take pictures, remember your journey. But when you go to submit your 46er documentation on the 46ers website, all they're gonna ask you are some questions about your journey and the dates and times of when you actually hiked them. Someone else asks, would you suggest to do Lower, Upper Wolf Jaw, Armstrong and Gothix, or Gothix and Sawteeth from Phelps Trail? I honestly just say if you can, get everything all in one. If you don't wanna have to go to the AMR now through the garden, if you can get a parking spot, it's still a fantastic way to do the lower Great Range. You'll just have to out and back Sawteeth, which is a pain. But again, if you have the ability to, I would just say do the lower Great Range in all one swing so you don't have to come back and do a second time. Talal asks, hey man, having never hiked in the high peaks during bug season, what should I expect? Bugs, lots and lots of bugs. It's disgusting. But one of the best things you could possibly do, invest in a bug net. Don't get one of the really, really thick ones. Get one of the really thin black mesh ones and wear a hat. Absolutely incredible piece of hiking engineering. And I also say to bring kind of a raincoat, even if it's super, super hot outside. If the bugs are biting you, have 100% of your skin covered. If you're not hiking up, obviously, because you'll die of heat exhaustion, at least you won't get bitten by bugs. And the last question, Dave asks, why do you use a Bear Vault 500 when the DEC themselves advise against the clear plastic canisters in the eastern high peaks? Someone asked what bear can that I used several videos ago, and I actually failed to address this in a follow-up video. There was some miscommunication with what I was saying. I wasn't necessarily recommending everyone to get the Bear Vault 450 or 500. I was just saying that's one that I liked using. Now, obviously the DEC advises against that, although they are still allowed. They advise against it, and here's why. This is my Bear Vault 450. Now, before we get any further, this isn't my only bear can. I'm about to get into that, so hold your horses. The plastic on this bear can is very malleable and is not necessarily standard regulation. Basically, bears have been proven, and they have gone into this plastic with their claws and with their mouths and like slowly started to bend this and eventually making holes inside of this. And I even think a couple have been known to actually get the lid off by just prying the plastic up, okay? So bears have definitely been known to get into this, and that's obviously why the DEC recommends not using this. The reason why I have this is because it's half the weight of the other bear canisters. So whenever I'm trying to do a ultra light overnight backpacking trip and I can't even fit the other one in my backpack, sometimes I have to use this one. So at least I'm not breaking any rules. I don't want to have to use this if I can avoid it. I got this for the minimalistic purpose of how lightweight it is. This is a standard regulation bear can. This is the Gracia bear can, incredible plastics. I don't even know if a bear's ever gone into this ever. I know some chipmunks have bitten down here at the corner and have gotten in a little bit, but basically this is what the DEC recommends using, and this is the Gracia bear canister, and this is what you all know and love, and yes, this is mine, and I do use this bear can as well, and this is the one that I would recommend every single person gets. There's also the Counter Assault Bear Keg. This is the biggest one. It weighs like 4.5 pounds and holds the most volume, but also great plastic, and we'll get the job done. All right, on to the last segment, photos of the week. We only got 2 photos this week. Come on, guys, you gotta submit more pictures. Obviously, when you all start coming back to hike here, you'll start submitting more photos, I hope. Make sure to use the High Peaks Report hashtag on Instagram. This week, we have by the Hunter Family Outdoor Adventures from Old Forge, New York. Gorgeous outlook there in a nice gloomy spring afternoon. And secondly, by M. Van Kirk. Beautiful grilled cheese there on the summit of Marcy. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for sticking in there if you did all the way. I appreciate your support, and there's some really exciting things that I'm probably going to announce on the next weekly report of some things that I have for you guys that you can participate in, and things that I'm gonna be bringing to you guys this summer. So look forward to that stuff. I'm Jonathan Zaharek. Maybe I'll see you out there in the trails. Feel free to say hi, and we'll see you next time.